So in this video, I'm going to talk about the dream world and why for most people, the dream world is a very difficult place to navigate and understand. So here's how I'm going to break this video down. First, I'm going to start talking about what the dream world actually is. And then I'll go and talk about what the 3D reality actually is and how when you go into the dream world, you take your 3D perception into the dream world. Since your 3D perception is so low vibrational, it magnifies the content of the dream world. And this magnification creates an obstacle that blocks you from deeper inner exploration. So that's what I'm going to talk about in a nutshell. So let's get started. Okay, so what is the dream world? Or what do we know about the dream world? The dream world is vast. Think universe. It is humongous. And the contents of it, we know very little about the contents of it. So just a dark, vast place. It's inherently very dangerous, right? And invokes fear, right? So now let's talk about the 3D reality. In the 3D reality, one of the most prominent energies or vibrations in the 3D reality is fear. Fear drives the majority of our motivation and our will and how we go about life, all those processes. A lot of those are driven by fear. I'm talking, some examples. Some of everything that you do, some of every decision you make, there's always an undertone of fear that's either supporting or not supporting those decisions. Like just even having the courage to ask someone for help or some of anything, or let alone actual like life or death fears. So fear is it's become a very normal vibration in our 3D reality. Now, courage, on the other hand, it makes us more successful. It makes us accomplish things. But with courage, you have to take risks. And in general, fear is very low risk. And most people in the world accept this. And it has become the norm. So the average or the normal vibration or very common vibration here is fear. And since it's so common, it has become the collective consciousness. And by it becoming the collective consciousness, it creates a veil or like a cover over what we see a dream as, or what we see anything outside of how we exist as. So now let's take it back to the dream. Now, when you drift into the dream world or go into the dream world, you are taking your 3D perception. You're taking your 3D perception, which is called, the Buddhists call it samsara. You're taking this perception of the dream world into the dream. And remember, one of the most dominant vibrations that we have in the 3D is fear. So when you go into the dream world, which is inherently full of fear triggers, it becomes a very hostile place. And it's hostile because let's talk about like what's in the dream world, the first layer or the first entry point, or when you start drifting into there. What's in there is what is called, or what we can call a relative layer. Initially, there's a relative layer. And in this relative layer, what exists is a lot of psychic content and hard to understand content, things that seem very disparate. No biggie, no problem, right? But it also contains a lot of the things, and I'm referring to Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, a lot of the things, the information, the sensations, the feelings that we keep repressed or we keep hidden, that we keep it hidden or tucked away very, very deeply away from ourselves and in our conscious 3D reality. We've basically pushed it somewhere to the point where it don't exist. So in the dream world, Carl Jung says that the dreams keep though that information or that type of information that we actively repress or keep away, far away from us as possible for whatever reason that is unacceptable in the waking reality or a huge embarrassment, whatever. But in the dream world, those things tend to exist, but here in the 3D, those things basically don't exist. They do exist, but we've made them not exist. So this latent mind that I'm talking about, the relative mind, this relative mind that I'm talking about, we'll call it the relative mind. It's not just one layer. It's actually all of them are fused together, or they bleed into each other. The 3D bleeds into samsara bleeds into the relative mind. So it becomes like a huge spectrum, or like a huge zone that we enter. And within this zone, it can become extremely hostile very quickly, because what you're dealing with there is raw psychic material. And mind you, I just mentioned to you, a lot of what's in the dream world, you have no point of reference of. You have no idea what it is or what it can do or what it represents. And this is the unknown. This represents the unknown or darkness. So it becomes a very scary place, particularly for someone who has no experience or doesn't know anything about what they're dealing with. Now, this whole spectrum of this new reality that we're experiencing in the dream world. When you experience these sensations, these things in the dream world, you have no. It's very real at that point. It's very real at that point, and there's nothing else exists. Only thing exists is where you're at in that moment. So some of your worst fears you may encounter when you're in the dream world. Like you may encounter being burned alive, being eaten, or being publicly humiliated, something of that nature. And it will be just raw information, raw data that you will come into contact with, and it will become you. And you will have no idea whether it's imagined, literal, symbolic, whatever. For you, it's an absolute real experience. So by traveling and traversing all like this weird space, this strange space, this very difficult space, it puts you in a position where your subconscious, your unconscious mind has to protect you. It has to keep you away from it, because to the unconscious mind, it's a very real thing. It's an absolutely real thing. So it has to protect you. So your unconscious mind gets your subconscious mind to send out things like your ego, your psychological fears, your base instincts, to come out there and shield you away from experiencing that latent mind, not latent mind, that relative mind. So it's basically keeping you safe because you have no defenses against what's actually in there because you have no idea what's actually in there, particularly if you don't explore this part of yourself. You have no idea. So you're basically defenseless. So what's beyond this relative mind? Beyond the relative mind, you keep going deeper, and keep in mind there's no brick wall you walk into. There's layers. They meld into one another. They bleed into one another. So beyond the relative mind, you start reaching the absolute mind. And what exists in the absolute mind? Higher conscious information exists in the absolute mind. I'm talking higher mental functions, higher spiritual functions, uh, things and situations, archetypes that bring you they're benevolent, they're very bright and brilliant, uh, is very wise or contains wisdom. All the higher the higher vibrational things that you can ever imagine or know to exist. They will all be in this absolute portion of the dream, or the absolute mind portion of the dream world. So the further you go into this absolute mind, it's a type of enlightenment. And mind you, we had to get through the relative mind to get to the portions of the absolute mind. So basically we had to rise above our lower self to get to our higher self. So arguably, a lot of people consider the dream world the real world, and this world actual sleep. And this world is only a slither of what the potential of what life experiences can be. It's a very well guarded. This world is very heavily well guarded from how great things can be, and a lot of it is based on how well you train and manipulate your mental processes. And I'm not saying that this is an easy thing that can be mastered tomorrow, a month, a year. But for example, simply by you're watching this, you have an interest in this, and if you didn't know anything about this prior, open a huge door for you. You have awareness now, and sometimes awareness is huge. Awareness is like a stick of dynamite. It can blow the walls away, knock the walls down, and open the world up for you in endless great ways. So that's my video about the dream world. And if you didn't take anything away from this, keep in mind about this. Conquer your fears. Remove your ignorances as much as you can. And by doing these things, they will equip you with being able to manage yourself in this reality and the realities of the dream world. You'll get the gifts of the dream world. And I just called or alluded that the dream world is the actual real world. And the dream world is it's a very underexplored place since most of us don't have the knowledge or the knowledge of it. It's just so strange and so foreign to us. We basically write it off, and despite it being like a quarter or one third of some of our lives, a huge chunk of our lives. And I don't know about you, but I want to own that too. So that's my video. We'll go deeper into dreams in the future. If you can't tell, I left off, I stopped at a very peculiar place in talking about this, and it's for a reason. It's for the sake of simplicity, keeping this digestible and teachable for anyone that wants to learn about it or is interested in it. And it leaves a question mark open for other things that I will delve into later. So thank you so much. I love and appreciate you, and you have a wonderful day. For me, Jupiter just turned direct, just recently, and I felt the shift. The shift was incredible. It was like a huge weight lifting off of my shoulder. I literally felt it, and I literally feel it now. Just a thought.